Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Teach Children to Save Day in Palm Beach County for our volunteer prep training. We're sorry to miss you. We've held a couple face-to-face trainings, but we're thankful that you're able to join us here for our recorded training. First and foremost, I am Aaron Standish. I am the Financial Literacy Program Planner for the School District of Palm Beach County for kindergarten through 12th grade. So we do a lot of financial literacy programs. I'm going to go through a few of those. Just give a quick shout out to those here in a moment. This is one of many that we do. And also, you're not going to see on the video today, but we do this in partnership with Florida Atlantic University, their Center for Economic Education. And Bill Bosart, he is a professor at FAU. He is the director of the FAU Center for Economic Education. So though you will not see him today, you may get some emails from him as they are one of our wonderful partners for this program. So I'm going to start, like I said, just real quickly, show you some of the programming that we do in the School District of Palm Beach County. You know, when I go out and give presentations to community groups, I often hear, man, I wish we did more of this, or I wish I would have had this when I was in school. And I'm here to tell you we do. We do a lot of it. This is my 9th year of being the program planner for personal financial literacy for the schools of Palm Beach County. And I spent 13 years in the classroom before that, teaching economics, some personal finance, and a few other things as well. But we have been, ever since 2014 or 15, we've done quite a bit of personal finance within our schools. Where our school district's unique is that we started from the elementary levels. In high school, I'll talk about that in a second. We have a requirement that's starting next year, but we don't stop there. We're one of the few in the country that actually has, though it's voluntary at these levels, but we do have some elementary programming. And at the middle school level, we actually have a standalone elective course, along with the mandatory course that's going to start for next year in high school. And you can see, you see there with a flyer there on your screen there, we've done a lot just this month. This is Financial Literacy Month, so happy Financial Literacy Month first and foremost. And you can see that's, I have Brian Edwards. He's our new specialist for our district who does some work with me on this. Between the two of us, we get around the district as much as we can. We promote personal finance programming as much as we can. You can see there in front of you, that's everything we're doing just for the month of April. So that includes this program. That includes Teach Children to Save Day. This is, goodness, our 6th or 7th year of doing this. We've been off for a few years. We last did this in February 2020. So that was the last time we sent volunteers out into the classrooms to read this book. But the idea behind this program is really twofold. There's two big things we want to get out of this for our students. One is we want them to interact with financial professionals. So sure, we could run this. We could just put district office staff or other volunteers into the classrooms to read these books and teach a lesson on saving. But what we know is that we have large segments of populations in our district schools who either don't have a relationship at all with a financial institution or who have a distrust of financial institutions. So putting somebody in the classroom who has experience and who works in the industry as a professional can be powerful. So that's first and foremost. Understand we want them to get in there and interact with the professional. And then number two, we want them to learn how to save. Whenever we teach lessons, good practice as a classroom teacher is to begin with the end in mind. So in other words, before you start, you need to know what your goal is, so you know that you're getting there before the end. And our big goal with Teach Children to Save Day is we want, by the time you walk out of that classroom, we want, obviously, students to understand that they don't have to spend all their money, that they can save some of it. But more importantly, why are they saving it? So we want them walking out of there having set a savings goal. So we want them thinking about the fact that, oh, I want to buy X product, I need to save money to be able to buy that. And so that's sort of you're going to see a number of different activities here today that you're going to do with the students, but understand that that's the big picture. The big thing is getting them talking to a financial professional, number one, to hear from it, be able to ask questions. They're going to ask, I'm sure, questions like how much money you have in your pocket or something like that. And then number two, for them to actually leave them with showing them how to set a savings goal. And so we're using the book Rock, Brock, and the Savings Shack. This is the book here. We've used, sorry, I know it's blurred out. I apologize. But you can see the cover of the book right there, Rock Brock and the Saving Shock. And this is the book we've used for the past 3 or 4 iterations of this. So we get a lot of good feedback about this book. Um, and we're hopeful that this year we've changed up the grade levels a little bit. This year we're doing second, third, and fourth grade. So that would be roughly 7, 8, and 9 year olds. That's going to be the age. So how this quick training is going to look is I'm going to go run through the logistics of like going into our schools. Just basically how do you get into them, what do you need to look out for. Then we'll talk about some quick best practices in terms of reading the Rock Brock and the Saving Shock. And I'm just going to quickly go through that. I'm not going to go through the whole 45-minute to 60-minute lesson with you, but I'll show you, and I'll read it for you real quickly too, just so you see it modeled. And then that'll be it. And then we'll get you out of here, hopefully with an idea of how to get into our schools, some best practices on how to read the book. And then I'm going to show you how to sign up for some of our classrooms. So let's start with arriving at the school. And I'm going to send you, if I haven't already, you may already have a copy of this presentation, but you will be able to review this after. First and foremost, try to get there a little bit early. It depends on the time that you're scheduled for. And I'll mention now, the time that you're scheduled, when teachers signed up, they signed up for a time frame. It was either a 1 or 2 hour time frame. That does not mean that's the exact time you're going to go into that classroom. Our teachers, especially our elementary teachers, their schedules are quite rigid. So you may be there from like 9:37 to 10:14. I mean, it could be something as rigid as that because their schedule is very sort of already put out for them. So if they say 9:37, please try to be there a little bit before 9:37. Depending on the time of day, it may take you some time to get through the front office. If it's like the very beginning of the day, give yourself a little more time because the front offices are generally pretty crowded at the beginning of the day with students arriving. Once you're past, say, 9 o'clock or so, it's usually not going to take too long. So generally, you're going to go in there, just tell them what you're there for. It's important that you let them know you're there as a classroom visitor, not as a volunteer. I'll talk why in a moment. Look for visitor parking. Generally, our elementary schools only have one entry point. They have a few gates, but usually only one gate's going to be open during the day. They may have somebody sitting there checking cars as they come in, which is fine. Just tell them what you're there for, and then find visitor parking. Just make sure you don't park in a reserved spot. We have some people on campus that are very protective of their reserved spots. There's a few entry points in our schools. Typically, there should be a lot of arrows pointing towards the main entrance or main office. It should say visitors come here. It should be very, very well marked. All the doors in our school are locked during the day, so you will have to go to that main office, that main entrance, and hit an intercom, hit a little buzzer for an intercom system, and they may ask who you are and why you're there and just tell them, or they may just buzz you right in. So typically they'll buzz you in, and that'll unlock the door for you to get in, and then you'll go walk right in there to the main office. When you get into the main office, tell them you're there as a school visitor. Now that's an important distinction. You are not a volunteer, right? Volunteers have to have full background checks through the school police. They have to be fingerprinted to pay for all that. And then they have to sign in through a special system and they get into the school. So now, if you are already a volunteer in our school, you already signed, absolutely, you can go in there. You can absolutely go in there and say that you are going to volunteer for the school that day. But otherwise, just say you're there as a school visitor. And what they're going to do is they're going to take your ID and run it through. We have what's called the Raptor system. And in the Raptor system, it does a quick background check of see if you have any felonies or have been convicted of anything or anything of the like. And it runs that real quick through the system, and then it'll give you a sticker with your picture on it from your ID. So make sure you wear that sticker somewhere on your shirt so that anybody there on school knows who you are and that you are already verified because you have that sticker there. And then the main office will direct you that you're not supposed to walk anywhere on campus unsupervised as a classroom visitor. But again, sometimes the schools are busy, and sometimes they may just say, "Oh, it's just right down the hallway. Take a left, and it's room 2111, or whatever it might be." So if they do, that's fine. But otherwise, they may bring a student or somebody to escort you to the room real quick. So those are your basic logistics. Let me go over now some best practices for when you go into the classroom. So some of you have a lot of experience, so this might fall on deaf ears for some of you. For the rest of you, it might have been a while since you've been in the classroom. And I know it can sometimes be nerve-wracking when you're going to class and you have all these 7, 8, 9-year-old eyes looking at you. I completely, even and I've been doing this is my 20th year in the school district, and even I get nervous going into some of these classrooms sometimes. So I completely understand. So this is just some best practices of things to watch out for when you're talking to the students. I already talked about being supervised, and make sure you never put yourself in a position in which you're supervising a class full of students alone. The teacher should know this, but if they ever say, hey, do you mind real quick? I'm going to run down for 10 minutes and make some copies. Please say no. It's a liability issue. You do not want to put yourself in that situation. And hopefully our teachers know not to, but do not be afraid to say no to that. One of the first things you always say is when you walk in, be warm and friendly, smile. Right? It's amazing how quickly you can disarm the students when you smile. Right? They are not going to know who you are from anybody when you go in there. So they're going to be judging you the moment you walk in that classroom. So if they see you're happy to be there, if they feel that you have a warm presence and that you're smiling at them, that can make a big difference. The dress is generally not a big issue with our financial professionals. If you want to wear something like that has the logo of your institution on it, that's perfectly fine. Keep your commitment, please, or at least communicate as soon as possible if you can. I mean, things happen. Something may come up where you can't go in. But please, we get generally overwhelming positive feedback from our teachers. We always get feedback at the end of this. If and when we get negative feedback, it's always dealing around lack of keeping the commitment or lack of communication about the commitment. What's going to happen, and I'm going to talk about it at the end, but I might as well say it now, is you're going to use a digital program to sign up for a classroom. After you sign up, you need to reach out to the teacher. When you sign up, you're going to have their contact information. So once you reach out to the teacher and make that initial contact, let them know that you need to set up the logistics of when they want you there. Like I said, you're going to sign up for a time frame. It does not mean you're going to be there in that exact time frame. They're going to set something within that time frame for you. And again, if something comes up for you, you need to communicate that directly with the teacher. Teachers are not easy to get a hold of during the day. They have classrooms in front of them all day long. So the best way to communicate with them is typically through email. Unless you make the initial communication, they say, hey, here's my cell phone. Please call me on my cell phone if you need something. Most of it's going to be done through email. When you talk to students, excuse me, it should feel like a conversation. So it shouldn't feel like a lecture. You're talking with them, not at them. So if you just sit and, this is tough to do over a computer. Usually we model it, but if you just stand in one place and say, hey, look at the book here, look at this, look at that. And no, you need to get out, walk around, and feel like you're interacting and talking with them. Physical presence makes a big difference. What I mean by that is don't just stay in the same spot. If you do that, the kids in the back they need to feel your physical presence. So if you feel like you're losing a part of the room, walk towards that part of the room and sort of try to talk with them and maybe talk directly to them. Humor is always a good way to go. Like I said, smiling always helps. Try to avoid sarcasm. 7, 8, 9-year-old kids don't understand sarcasm. Be inclusive. When you go into this classroom, I can tell you right now, there's going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 really excited kids. And it's the kid that loves to answer every question. And it's going to feel good for you. So there's certain points in the book you're going to see. I'm going to model it briefly here in a few minutes, but you're going to see there's certain parts where you stop and ask them questions. And inevitably, there's going to be that one kid whose hand is going to go up every single time. And as the classroom visitor, you might feel like, oh man, this is great. Someone's answering every single one of my questions. But understand that if you let that one kid dominate, it's going to turn off every single other person in that classroom. They're just going to be like, there goes Johnny again. So certainly call on the excited kid. I mean, we want him or her to also be involved, but occasionally let the question settle and let some other kids. And like I said, if you have to physically walk over to some kids and ask them, that's fine. But just try to make sure it's not just one or two kids dominating it all. When in doubt, follow. Excuse me. When in doubt, follow the teacher's rules for the classroom. Uh, if you have it, listen, it's inevitable that you're going to get some kids that may be off task. That just happens in classrooms. And you can certainly say something to this and be like, hey, please stop throwing a pencil at the kid next to you, or whatever it is. Do not discipline students. That is the teacher's job. So if you see a student who's consistently off task and just something needs to happen, walk over to the teacher, call the teacher over. Teacher has their own rules for the classroom. The school has rules for the school. We're always going to defer to those. So again, when in doubt, defer to the teacher, let them handle the situation. The raising our hands we've already talked about. Confidentiality is very important in our classrooms. I doubt you're going to be in there for 45 to 60 minutes. I doubt you're going to, get a kid's deepest, darkest secrets. But if you happen to hear anything, you need to tell the teacher, number one, first and foremost. You may hear a student say, oh, I was hit by a parent last night. That's not all that uncommon to hear in the classroom. Teachers have a procedure of what they need to do to report that. So if you hear it, you tell the teacher and it stays in that classroom. These are minor children. There are federal guidelines protecting any sort of personal information that gets shared about them, so that anything you hear should not be shared outside the classroom. You got to look over the lesson before you conduct it. I'm going to do it briefly today. It's not as good as a face-to-face lesson, so you're going to get it very briefly. I'm just going to kind of go through the lesson plan, but you're going to get a full copy of the lesson plan. Certainly use a highlighter to make notes in it. I'm going to show you the post-it note sort of method that I use. I put post-it notes in the book, although you may not be able to see it because the screen's blurry. If you miss something from the suggested lesson plan, that's fine. The kids don't know any better. Like I said, remember the big thing here is you want to read them the book. You want them at the very end of it. They're going to do a little activity as they read the book. You'll see here in a little bit. But then at the end of the day, we want them. You got to get to the very end, which is set a savings goal. Talk about what you have to do to meet that savings goal, so on and so forth. The pictures are incredibly important, right? So make sure you show the students the pictures. They love to see the pictures. If you're in a big classroom, it means you're going to have to walk around a lot. If you're in a really big classroom, you should receive a copy of this presentation. In the presentation is a picture of every page of the book. So every single one of our classrooms has a smart board. You can have the teacher pulled up for you on the smart board, and you can show it up there if need be. Make sure you have enough copies, right? So there's a set of student activities that the students will work on during your lesson. Just make sure you have enough copies of it. I said assume 25 to 35 students, but with our new sign-up system, we have the teachers report on exactly how many students are in. In a normal classroom, you're talking 18 to 24 students. However, sometimes they combine classes. We've asked them never combine more than one or more than two classes. They don't always listen to what we ask, but we did have them report, so you should see exactly how many students. I mentioned the smart board. So if you don't know what a smart board is, it's a big old, almost like TV screen that has a CPU that basically has a computer attached to it. So you can, and it's touch screen. So you can pull everything up there on the big touch screen. If you have a USB, you can put a USB in. If you want to send the slides to the teacher ahead of time, you can ask them to pull them up. You can do that as well. But they should have any and all basic supplies for the classroom. The document camera is, I don't even want to mention that anymore because we have smart boards. A lot of teachers have put away their document cameras. So I'm just going to skip that part. If you need to use anything, use the smart board. This is very important. I haven't mentioned this yet. When you first get in there, don't just fire into reading the book. The students don't know who you are. They don't know why you're there, or they should know why you're there. The teacher should have prepped them for that. But remember what I told you, one of the most important parts of you going in there is so that the teachers can interact with a financial professional. So it should be a good 10 to 15 minutes before you even get into the book. The very first thing you want to do when you get in there is introduce yourself, right? Talk about who you are, who you work for, what you do, what your business does, right? And most importantly, give them time to ask questions. So that's the first part when you get in there, when you're smiling nice and big, and now you're going to develop some sort of rapport with the students so that they're going to listen when you read the book and do the lesson. So give them that time. If they want to ask a bunch of questions, let them ask a bunch of questions. Um, like I said, they're going to ask you how much money you have in your pocket. They're going to ask any and everything about where the bank keeps the money and things like that. Those are the types of questions they're very likely to ask. But that's okay. It gets them talking and thinking about money. So again, tell them you're sharing a book with them. You're going to focus on saving. Always show them the cover of the book. Talk about the title and the author. Again, when you get the lesson plan, it talks about that. And then you're going to start reading the book and follow the lesson. The lesson has you stop uh, 3, 4 times during the book to sort of stop that. As you'll see, they're going to have to do they're going to be filling out a little chart as you're reading. And so you have to stop a few times and show them that chart. It should take about 45 to 60 minutes. Please do not bomb through it and be done in 20 minutes. That will not make the teacher very happy. Again, some of the negative feedback we've got in the past is, oh, they came in here, they read, and they were out the door in 20, 25 minutes. Remember, the teachers have very specifically scheduled for this, so you're leaving them in the lurch if you've all of a sudden left an additional 40 minutes that you were supposed to be there and they have nothing to do. And the same token, don't go over your time, right? I'm sure that as you get close to your time, the teacher will probably give you a heads, or even ask them, say, hey, can you give me a 5-minute heads up when I only have 5 minutes left, so that you don't go over your time. I've talked about some of the read aloud strategies already, but again, you don't want to be monotone. You don't want to sit in one corner and just read like this and go. No, you want to get excited, get into the book. If you get into the book, the kids will get into the book. The gifts, if you want to bring gifts, go for it. It's not required. You don't have to bring gifts for the students. But again, if you want a good way to get them on your side, if you have some branded stress balls or branded pencils or whatever it might be, or some mints, you can bring those in to distribute to the students. Ask the teachers ahead of time when you want them to give them to them. That they probably won't want you giving them to them when you first walk in, but maybe just ask them. And then at the end, leave your business card. The teacher's not going to be able to hang around and have a discussion. They're going to have to move on to the next thing in the day. So don't be offended if the teacher sort of says, hi, thank you, bye, and then moves on. But just thank them, thank the class, leave your business card if they want to ask any further questions. And most importantly, leave the book for the teacher. The book is a gift from the school district, is a gift from the FAU Center for Economic Education for them to add to their classroom libraries. So now we're going to transition a little bit. Now we're going to get into the actual lesson, the Rock, Brock, and the Saving Shock book. So it's a little difficult doing this on a recording because usually I have the book in front of me and I can show it. So I'm going to do my best to do it through some slides here. But you may need to bear with me a little bit. All right, so I'm going to do my best to, as best we can in the setting, to sort of do a quick reading for you, to walk you through just how to read the book. And obviously I can't do the activities. If we were in the face-to-face setting, we'll do some of the activities that you do with the students, but I'll sort of call out where you do the various activities. You should have access. It should have been sent to you in the mail. Hopefully you can see this with the blurs. Looks like it's not blurred as I put it up there, but this is the full lesson plan. So that is the full lesson plan from start to finish. From step one to the very final step. As we said before, time management is key in this. Don't think you have to do every single thing in that lesson. Really what's most important is that you go in there, you introduce yourself, you talk to the kids, you let them ask a couple of questions, you read the book. That's a very important part. And then they have to fill out a little sheet, which you'll see here, that as they read the book. And then there's a few like other activities, but if you look like you're getting short on time, don't forget that last activity, which is the setting the savings goal. It's incredibly important to get to that. So as you read the book, and as I'll start to here in a moment, this is the savings plan. This is part of the student activities you hand out to the kids. So all of them will have this sheet in front of them. And so you will be doing this with them. You'll see in the book, there's a few places where you should stop and say, okay, look at your savings plan in front of you. Let's fill out week one. Let's fill out week two. Let's fill out week three. Or the first couple ones already done, and so on and so forth. So it's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to give the students a couple of minutes each time you get to it to fill it out, or if you prefer, especially if you're running short on time, to just do it as a class. Again, there's no one right way to do that. It really just depends on how much time you have when you get to doing this part. Of course, the math is relatively simple on it. Again, this is second, third, and fourth graders doing this, but you do have an answer key there for you as well, because if nothing else, it lets you get those numbers really quickly, so you don't have to do it in your head or use a calculator or anything. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and jump right in, and I'll start reading the book. So I have the book in front of me here, and so I'm going to be looking down and reading it. I'm going to show you the different pages as we get to it. So you should see up here on the presentation the pages, but again, you'll have the book that you'll be reading, and you won't do it the same way I'm doing it. As I'm just looking out and reading it because I don't have anybody in front of me to read to or show anything. But in the classroom, you will be showing the pictures as you go through it. That's an incredibly important part of this. Do not fire through the book. I think I've said it already. Take your time, read slow. The kids will be into the story. We've used this book for a while. The kids love this book. They want to hear it. They want to see the pictures of it. So make sure you sort of take your time going through it. So the first thing to note, you always want to tell the students the name of the book. So you will tell them this is Rock, Brock, and the Saving Shock. And you'll talk about the author. The author was Sheila Bair. And if you look in the book, it talks about, or if you look in the lesson plan, it talks about Miss Bair a little bit, how she worked a large portion of her life in the financial industry. She worked for the New York Stock Exchange. She worked for the U.S. Treasury Department. She worked for the FDIC for a while. So you can introduce that to them and just tell them real quickly who she is. And then you're going to want to get right in and start reading the book. And so that's what we'll do. This is the tale of Rock and Brock, twins as different as ball and block. Rock ate good food, Brock gobbled junk. Rock liked to bathe, Brock kind of stunk. Rock studied hard, Brock watched TV. Rock rose at dawn and Brock slept till 3. Rock was a nearly perfect guy, but here's the thing, he loved to buy. His brother Brock lived like a slob, but saved his money by the gob. And so this is one of the parts in the lesson plan says to stop. Now, I mentioned earlier about the Post-it notes. I hope you can see this, but you can see, sort of maybe not blurry, this is what I do. So I put Post-it notes in the book. So I put Post-it notes in the book at those different places where it tells you to stop, and then I wrote in there sort of discussion questions. Like for this one, you're supposed to talk about the twins' differences, right? Rock was the neat one. Brock was a little messy. But when it came to money, Rock liked to spend his money and Brock liked to save. So they were kind of opposites in that regard. And then you can ask them, which twin do you think you're most like in terms of handling money? And that might get them talking. Again, this is early in the story, so you want to get them into it. You want to get them talking. Don't spend too much time on that. But that's a good time to get them talking about that. That was the last page I read, sorry. One day their Gramps, a kindly man, proposed to them a savings plan. For 10 straight weeks each Saturday, I'll give you each $1 pay. To mow my lawn and wash my car, these simple chores will get you far. Because I'll do a little trick, each buck you save, I'll match it quick. Spend it, there's no extra dough, so save your cash and watch it grow. Then Gramps paid out, true to his word, $1 to each. Here is what occurred. Brock saved his, but Rock's mind was stuck on what he could buy with his crisp new buck. Right away, he ran to the mall and bought a moose head for his wall. So again, I've got a note for me to stop at this point. This is the point where you can discuss Gramps' saving plan, talk to the students about what he's doing, ask them how do the kids earn extra dollars, and you can talk about how he's matching whatever they have saved. He'll match that amount in the next week. This is also the point where you should, if you have not yet, tell the kids to reference their sheet. All right, this is the sheet I showed you on the slide earlier. And if they haven't already done so, or they have already done so because week one's already filled out for them, but you can just show them week one the fact that they each had $1 because Gramps paid them $1 for their work. The next week, Gramps gave out more bread, $1 each, just as he said. Rock had one, Brock now had two. Brock saved his dough. Rock wanted to, but couldn't resist the urge to buy a giant wind-up tsetse fly. And so again, you stop here. Now they need to look at week 2 on Gramps' savings plan, and you'll see, as you're looking at it, week 2 already filled in for him. So that's good. But you can at least show them that Brock saved $1, Gramps matched $1, Brock now has $2, Rock saved $0 because he spent it, so Gramps matched $0, and Rock now has $0, which is going to be a theme with Rock as we go through the weeks. The third week, Gramps paid out some more. He matched Brock's 2 bills up to 4. Rock got 1 because he had no savings. Still, he gave in to his spending cravings. After all, what can a guy do with half price off on green hair goo? So again, you stop, and now they're going to look at week 3 on their chart. Most of week 3, or about half of week 3 is already filled in if you're looking at it in front of you. So you've just got to have them fill in the amount that Gramps matched for each of them. On week 4, Brock's dough redoubled. 4 to 8, Rock was befuddled. Rock got $1, which he promptly spent on wax fangs tasting like peppermint. So again, stop. Now we're going to update week 4. Week 4 has got a little bit of information filled in, but they're going to have to fill in the vast majority of week 4. So again, it would be 4, 4, and 8 for Brock's total, and 0, 0, 0 for Rock's total. The next week, Brock was tempted to buy an awesome toy he wanted to try, a rocket ship with a pop-off hatch, but if he bought it, he'd lose his match. He stopped himself when he reached the store, and so Gramps paid him $8 more. With not off for savings, Rock got just 1. He bought some broccoli-flavored gum. And so you're going to stop here. This will be the last place you stop because they're going to fast forward the weeks here. But this is the end of week 5. This is also the first week that they have to do completely on their own. So this, once they get to week 5, might take a little more hand-holding, might give them some time to get through it or get through it as a class to fill out that Gramps savings plan chart in front of them. So just FYI, we're missing a page here. I'll make sure it gets put in there. Gramps paid out from summer to fall, while Brock saved his. Rock spent it all. He found toys for a dime at a yard sale, a car with 3 wheels, a polka dot snail. He bought such bargains with his cash, clown ears, fruit hat, a big mustache. Soon Rock, the neater of the boys, found himself waist deep in toys. But Brock's cash grew and grew and grew. 8, then 16, then 32. His pile of bucks became so great, he had to store them in a crate. 10 weeks went by. Poor Rock was doomed. He had no cash. Brock's had ballooned. With matching dollars at the end, Brock had $512 to spend. And so you're going to stop here. Now they just did weeks 6 through 10 in the last couple pages. So now you're going to let the students fill in weeks 6 through 10 on Gramps' saving plan. And again, depending on your time, Usually I'd say give them some time to finish it. Let the kids work through it. Some of the students are going to be better at math than others, just the way it is. They might need some hand holding through some of this because ultimately they're getting up all the way. Brock is going to have $512, so it's going to be a high number for some of the students, whereas obviously Rock's going to have 0. And so that's a good stopping point to also ask some discussion questions. Ask them, why does Brock have so much more money than Rock at this point in time? And you can give them the fact that, well, he didn't spend all his money as soon as he got it. He actually saved some of it so he could do more with it later. That's something to those effects. Brock used his cash to buy nice things: a telescope to see Saturn's rings, a book for mom, a shirt for dad, for Gramps, a roll of tartan plaid. With $50 left, what did Brock do? He opened a bank account for 2. A joint account for him and his bro, a place to keep their hard-earned dough. Because Brock ate junk and hated his bath, but one thing he knew his math. He saved his money like a miser, and of the twins, he proved the wiser. And so here you can also stop. The lesson plan suggests to stop and talk to the students about what do you think Gramps was trying to teach kids about money. Ask them, also get them talking about what are some of the things the twins bought, and ask them, would you buy those things with your money? Their favorite page is that page that has, it's 2 pages that has all the toys when they're stuck in that room with all the toys. They love to look at that. You can ask them, would you have bought, if you had the money, would you have bought these things or would you have saved? And then of course you can get into the discussion again about what was different between the 2 different ways that the boys handled their money. By seeing Brock's humongous take, Rock finally realized his mistake. From that day on, he saved his loot and gave up on his spending toot. The twins stashed bucks in their account. For years and years, they watched them mount. By the time both had gray hairs, they found that they were millionaires. The end. And so that is the end of the story. I will just mention a few things quickly about the story too. There might be some words in there the students don't know that you may need to specify. Specifically, it uses a lot of slang terms for money. It uses buck, which is relatively common, but they may not know what a buck is. So I need to explain that. It uses loot, dough, bread, all different words for money. So you may need to stop at some point and explain that that's what they're doing. All right, so that gets us to the end of the story. Now, you can see I wrote down, according to the lesson plan, it's got all sorts of discussion questions you can ask. So I've put some of those on my Post-it notes so that I would not forget to ask some of these discussion questions. But again, I'm not going to go in to all that right now. It has you, asking the kid or telling the kids, this is especially good for those of you who come from banks, credit unions, to talk about that Gramps' plan was almost working like a savings account. And so you can talk to the kids, paying awfully good interest, but you can talk to the kids about what a savings account is, where students can get a savings account, and you can engage them in discussion about interest. Because in this, obviously, Gramps is paying really good interest. So this is a good sort of jumping off point to have a real brief discussion about what is interest, what is compound interest, and that's how Gramps' savings plan was working. It was working like he had basically a savings account earning compound interest. So that's a good point to talk about that. You can also sort of engage them in discussion, ask them, do you have a savings account? What do you know about savings accounts? Where do your parents save their money? Right? Questions like that, this is a good jumping off point for those. And then it's got some other discussion questions. I'm gonna skip in the interest of time right now. And then if you have time, so if you look at the clock and you've got 20 or 30 minutes left, you can do this. And this is another activity that's in the activity packet that's called Brock's Alternative Savings Plan. And you can talk to them how in the story, what did Brock almost buy? And if you remember, he almost bought that rocket. And you can say, well, let's see what would have happened had Brock chosen to buy that instead of saving the money. And so that's all that's all you're doing in Brock's Alternative Savings Plan. You can demonstrate for them how to fill out the chart. Again, you can do it as a class. You can have them do it one-on-one or on their own or with a desk partner, and then ask them some questions in the other sheet about that plan. Again, there's an answer sheet for you. So no need to worry. And you see the answer sheet, I believe, is also, yes, I'm looking at the book in front of me. It's also in the book as well. All right, so basically, he would have, had he bought the rocket, he would have had the rocket and then would have had $64 at the end. Instead, he didn't buy the rocket and had $512 at the end. So it's also a great time to ask students, well, which would you rather have? There's no right answer here. This is part of personal relationships with money, is some people value things more than others. And if maybe a student would rather value that rocket plus $64 as opposed to having $512 later. So that's a good time to have that discussion about which do you think you'd rather have in the end. And again, while telling them there's no right or wrong answer necessarily to that question. And ultimately, then you engage in a discussion. Well, every single time you purchase something, there is an opportunity cost for your action. In other words, you've got to give something up to get something else. It's a very basic economics concept that if they haven't learned already, they will learn pretty soon in an economics class. And just let them know that anytime they make a spending decision, there is a cost to that. Even if it's not monetary, they're giving up something else that they could have been doing with that time or money instead. And so you can ask them, well, what was the opportunity cost in terms of this, in terms that Brock had to consider in making the saving decision? And there's a monetary amount to this, whatever 512 minus 64 is. You can talk about that's what he gave up. And again, in the book, it's got the math there for you. The answer key is both in the lesson plan and it's in the back of the book in case you needed help. And then, and in terms of closure, as I told you at the beginning, begin with the end in mind. So this is, you need to give the students 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the class to now think about what is something that I may want to save for, right? So now they've learned about the importance of saving. They've learned the fact that if I buy something now, I might have to give up something else. If I want to make a larger purchase later, I need to save for that. I don't have to spend all the money as soon as I get it. So they've learned some of those basic lessons. Now you want to engage them and let them think for themselves in their own lives. And so you need to go in with examples. So you can show them, say, okay, everybody turn in your activity packet now to the My Savings goal and talk personally for yourself. What is something you're saving for? And have it written down in your paper. Say, here is what I'm currently saving for a vacation to Hawaii, right? And they need to see examples of what are actual savings goals. And then you'll give them maybe a couple minutes, say maybe talk to your partner or however you want to do it in the class, or do it on your own or do it as a table. But I want you to think about something over the next few months, over a year. 7, 8, 9-year-olds aren't going to think too much beyond that. What is something you may want to save money for? And so they write it down right inside that piggy bank there, and then talk about what they've definitely never thought of as, well, how am I going to get to that savings goal? What do I have to do? What are some steps I have to take to actually save money so I can purchase whatever my goal is? And so again, give some examples on your own. Maybe you're gonna work more. You're gonna take a side job. You're gonna go drive for Lyft. You're gonna sell some items on Facebook Marketplace. Right? Whatever it might be. You don't have to list 4 things. 4 is a lot, especially for 7, 8, 9-year-old, but at least try to list at least 2 things. And then after you've shown your examples, turn it over to the students to show their examples or to think of their own examples. And again, if they want to work with table partners or whatnot. And then and then this is also a good time, by the way, for you to circulate. This is a great time for you to get out and, oh, you're saving for that? Wow, why do you want that? Just sort of circulate around the room, talk to some of the different tables. It's great. It's wonderful to listen to some of their ideas. And then come together back as a class. Ask some students if they want to share what their savings goals are, so that kids can hear what other kids might be saving for. You can ask them what their steps are, and that's basically the end of the lesson. You can finish with a couple closure questions. Who can tell me again what savings is? Who can tell me again what opportunity cost is? Who can tell me what a savings plan is? Things like that. If you want to close with that. Oh, there you go. There's those questions right there. So I'm gonna fly through these, but you're going to get this. But there's just a review basically of what you're doing. And then I'll just leave you with some final do's and don'ts there. I've kind of already said these do's and don'ts, but again, this is a good thing that before you go into the classroom to look over these do's and don'ts to make sure that you have a fun time in there. That's what this is all about. Ultimately, if you're having fun, the kids are having fun. Just try to remember that. So we really hope this will be a really fun experience for you. I know that this is going to be a positive experience for the students. Understand how powerful professionals coming into the classroom and reading books can be for them. So please take it seriously. These kids are looking forward to your visit. These kids want to hear what you have to say. They want to ask you questions. And like I said, ultimately for you, just have fun with it. If you miss parts of the lesson, you miss parts of the lesson. Just go in there, smile, talk to them about savings, have them set a savings goal before they get out of there. And that's the big goals here. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is how to sign up for a class. So you can sign up for multiple classes. We need some people to sign up for multiple classes. We have more classrooms than volunteers. So please, you see the link there. If again, you're going to get this presentation if you don't have it already. I've probably already emailed it to you. But if you want to take a picture of that or whatnot, that's the link where you're going to go to sign up. To sign up, you just hit the sign up button. It's that simple. There's 7 possible days that we're doing this, which is Thursday and Friday, the 20th and 21st. Excuse me. And then Monday through Friday, the 24th through the 28th. Each teacher signed up for a single spot. So you'll sign up in one of those spots. Please try to have it completed by April 12th. That would let us get all the communication out to the teachers. Remember, I told you you're signing up for either a 1 or 2 hour time frame, but that's not necessarily the time frame you're going to go there. You're going to set that once you connect with the teacher, you're going to set the exact time. Here's what it looks like when you're signing up. I've got it listed by school name, city, grade level. That's what you see in blue, because I know not all of you know where our schools are. If you click the little arrow there, it'll give you even more information. It'll give you the teacher's info. It'll give you how many students they've reported. It'll give you a map to the school if you really are looking for a specific area. Please try to sign up for classrooms that aren't signed up for yet. We have trouble getting certain areas, getting classroom visitors to. I know typically we, especially our schools out west, starting with like Loxahatchee on westward, we always have trouble filling those schools. So please, it's really not that far of a drive. Please consider if you're able to go out to some of our schools in that area. But yeah, you just hit the arrow and then you hit sign up, and then you just have to put in your name, your email, your phone number, your organization. And that's the only information to collect. You don't have to sign up for an account or anything like that. This is incredibly important. This is what I'm going to leave you with. Once you sign up, you need to reach out to the teacher. The teacher is not connected to that sign-up sheet you just saw. They are not connected to it. All right. So once you sign up, you've got their contact information. Email them. Do it via email. Just say, "Hi, I'm Aaron Standish. I work for so-and-so. I've signed up for your classroom for Teach Children the Save Day. I've signed up for this date, this time frame. Can we please work out the details of exactly when you'd like me to come?" And that's it. They're expecting your emails. That I get emails every single day. Who's my visitor? Who's my visitor? Who's my visitor? I'm going to try to keep myself from being the middleman here. You don't need me. You've got their contact info. Just reach out directly via email. Most of them are in front of classrooms. They cannot talk on a cell phone during the day for most of them. So please try to do that no later than April 13th. I've told the teachers to expect it no later than April 13th. And again, if anything needs to change, reach out directly to the teacher to let them know. And finally, there's my contact information if you need it. There's Bill's contact information at FAU if you need it. We're more than happy to help you with whatever you need. If you did not attend a training and you need to get the book, because you have to leave a book for the teacher, and if you're going to need to make copies of the student activities, we have copies. You can obviously print it and make copies yourself. However, if you need copies, let us know. You can either come pick it up at our offices. I work at the school district office in West Palm Beach. It's right off Forest Hill, like Forest Hill and Congress. I can leave it for you up front and you can come pick those up. Bill works at Florida Atlantic University in Boca, so you can also do that with him. Um, if it's you need it like ASAP, or if you tell us like ASAP, we may be able to get it out in the mail for you. Uh, but that's only if it's well over a week before you have to go visit your classroom. But again, just reach out and communicate with us. We're happy to help. And again, most of all, a huge, 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 huge thank you from myself, from Bill, from the students and teachers of Palm Beach County for volunteering your time to do this. And we really, really hope you have fun and really help support the students of our school district. I can't thank you enough. So thank you, and reach out if you need any help.